Women are often seen as strong, resilient, and unstoppable forces of nature. But just like everyone else, they have their own set of weaknesses, things that make them vulnerable, emotional, or even self-doubting. And today, we're diving deep into 10 weaknesses that every woman has, whether she realizes it or not. Some of these might surprise you, and others will feel all too familiar. But remember, recognizing these weaknesses isn't about judgment, it's about self-awareness and growth. Stick around till the end, because number 10 is something every woman struggles with, yet rarely admits. Number 1. Overthinking everything. Have you ever seen a woman sitting quietly, staring off into the distance, and you ask her, "What's wrong?" Only to hear, "Nothing, I'm fine." But deep down, you know that's not the truth. The reality is, her mind is running a marathon of thoughts, analyzing every little detail, replaying conversations, and imagining 100 different outcomes. Overthinking is one of the biggest weaknesses many women struggle with. And it's not just a simple habit. It's a deeply ingrained pattern that can feel impossible to escape. Picture this. A woman sends a text to someone important to her. Minutes pass. No response. An hour later, still nothing. Her mind starts racing. Did I say something wrong? Did I come off as too needy? Are they ignoring me on purpose? Suddenly she's reliving every past mistake, questioning her worth and convincing herself of scenarios that may not even exist. It's not just about relationships, though. Overthinking affects every part of life: work, friendships, personal decisions. Before making a choice, a woman might go through every possible consequence in her mind, analyzing what could go wrong instead of focusing on what could go right. Even simple things like picking an outfit for an event can turn into an overwhelming decision because she's overanalyzing what people might think. And let's not forget the mental exhaustion that comes with it. Overthinking leads to stress, anxiety, and even sleepless nights. A woman might lie in bed at night replaying a conversation from days ago, picking apart every word, wondering if she said the wrong thing. It's an endless cycle, and the worst part, most of the time the things she's overthinking about don't even matter in the long run. But why does this happen? One reason is that women are often more emotionally attuned to their surroundings. They pick up on small details, changes in tone, facial expressions, body language. While this emotional intelligence is a strength, it can also be a curse when it leads to reading too much into situations. Social conditioning also plays a role. From a young age, many women are taught to be people pleasers, to care deeply about what others think, and to avoid making mistakes. This can create a fear of failure and rejection, making them second-guess themselves constantly. But here's the truth. Overthinking doesn't change the outcome, it only steals the present moment. Instead of living fully, a woman stuck in her thoughts is constantly trapped in a loop of what-ifs and should-haves. So, what's the way out? It starts with awareness, recognizing when the mind is spiraling and consciously choosing to step back, taking a deep breath, grounding oneself in the present, and reminding oneself that not every thought deserves attention. Learning to trust one's instincts and let go of the need for perfection. Because at the end of the day, no one has control over everything, and overthinking only creates problems that weren't even there to begin with. Number 2, the fear of disappointing others. There's a deep, almost invisible thread that runs through the hearts of many women, one woven from expectations, responsibilities, and an overwhelming desire to never let anyone down. The fear of disappointing others isn't just a passing worry. For many, it's a constant pressure that shapes their choices, words, and even their sense of self. From a young age, girls are often taught to be considerate, nurturing, and accommodating. While these are beautiful qualities, they sometimes evolve into a silent burden. A woman may find herself saying yes when she wants to say no. She may suppress her true feelings to avoid conflict. She may even put her own dreams on hold to meet the expectations of family, friends, or society. Imagine a woman juggling a demanding job, a household, and relationships. She's exhausted, but still forces herself to attend that event she doesn't want to go to, just so no one feels bad. She takes on extra work, afraid that saying no will make her seem unreliable. She smiles when she's hurt, listens when she wants to speak, and agrees when every fiber of her being wants to disagree. This fear is rooted in a deep need for acceptance and belonging. The thought of someone being disappointed in her can feel unbearable, as if her worth is tied to how well she meets the expectations of others. Over time, this leads to exhaustion, resentment, and even a loss of self-identity. But here's the hard truth. No matter how much effort a woman puts into pleasing others, there will always be someone who isn't satisfied. People's expectations are endless. If she bases her happiness on making everyone else happy, she will never truly be free. The real challenge is learning to set boundaries without guilt. A woman must understand that saying no doesn't make her selfish, it makes her self-aware. Disappointing someone else is sometimes necessary to stay true to herself. The question she must ask isn't, will they be upset? But rather, am I honoring my own needs? Because at the end of the day, a life lived for the approval of others is not a life lived fully. It's only when a woman releases the weight of expectations that she can stand in her own power, unapologetically herself. Number 3, being too hard on themselves. Have you ever noticed how women tend to be their own worst critics? No matter how much they achieve, how much effort they put in, or how much others appreciate them, they often feel like it's never enough. It's like there's an invisible scoreboard in their minds, constantly keeping track of their mistakes, shortcomings, and flaws. Imagine this. A woman wakes up early, gets the kids ready for school, rushes to work, handles deadlines, comes back home, cooks dinner, and still finds time to check on a friend who's having a bad day. Yet, at the end of it all, she lies in bed thinking about the one thing she forgot to do, completely ignoring everything she accomplished. Sound familiar? This habit of being too hard on themselves starts early. Society has conditioned women to believe they have to be perfect. Perfect daughters, perfect wives, perfect mothers, perfect employees. The pressure is enormous, and when they fall short, because let's be honest, perfection is impossible, they feel guilt, shame, or even frustration with themselves. But here's the truth. No one expects perfection except themselves. Others see their effort, their kindness, their strength, but they don't. Women often set unrealistically high standards for themselves, believing that anything less than 100% is failure. They criticize themselves for minor mistakes, replay awkward conversations in their heads, and compare their worst days to someone else's highlight reel on social media. Think about this. If a friend came to you and said, "I feel like I'm failing, I should be doing more," what would you say? You'd probably reassure her, remind her of everything she's doing right, and tell her to be kinder to herself. But when it comes to their own struggles, women rarely extend themselves the same grace. This constant self-criticism affects mental health. Anxiety, stress, and burnout become a daily battle. They overanalyze their actions, second-guess their decisions, and hesitate to celebrate their achievements. Even when they receive a compliment, many women instinctively downplay it. "Oh, it was nothing," or "I just got lucky." Why? Because deep down, they believe they still could have done better. But here's something powerful. Self-compassion isn't weakness, it's strength. Learning to say, "I did my best and that's enough," is a game changer. Acknowledging mistakes without tearing themselves apart can make them more resilient, not less. So, what's the solution? First, women need to recognize their inner critic and challenge it. When they catch themselves thinking, "I should have done more," they should ask, "Would I say this to a friend?" If the answer is no, then why say it to themselves? Second, they need to celebrate their wins, big or small. Finished a project at work? That's a win. Managed to cook dinner despite an exhausting day? Another win. Being kind to themselves isn't about ignoring their flaws. It's about seeing their worth beyond their mistakes. And lastly, they need to remember, being human means being imperfect. Life isn't about doing everything right. It's about doing the best with what you have. Instead of focusing on what they lack, women should embrace who they are, flaws and all. Because at the end of the day, self-love isn't just about feeling good. It's about finally giving themselves the credit they truly deserve. Number 4, getting emotionally attached. Too quickly, falling too fast, too soon, it's a story as old as time. One glance, a few sweet words, and suddenly, emotions are running wild. It's not because women are weak. It's because they feel deeply. When a connection sparks, it's easy to believe it's something special, something real. The heart races ahead, painting a future that may not even exist yet. But what happens when those emotions aren't reciprocated? What happens when that deep attachment is built on nothing more than fleeting moments? Getting emotionally attached too quickly can feel exhilarating at first. Butterflies in the stomach, the rush of excitement, the thrill of the unknown. It's intoxicating. But here's the problem. Emotions don't always see reality for what it is. They magnify the good, ignore the bad, and create expectations that may never be met. One kind gesture turns into a sign of love. A few late-night conversations feel like destiny. Before realizing it, emotions have already written a love story that the other person may not even be aware of. And that's where the danger lies. When emotions take the lead, logic takes a back seat. Red flags, overlooked, mixed signals, just misunderstood. It becomes easy to justify things that shouldn't be justified. He's just busy. She's just shy. Maybe they need more time. Excuses pile up while the emotional attachment grows stronger. And when things don't work out, it hurts more than it should, because the investment was never balanced in the first place. So why does this happen? It's not just about romance. It's about craving connection, wanting to be seen, understood, and valued. Women, by nature, are nurturers. They give love easily, sometimes without realizing how much they're giving. And in a world that often feels disconnected, a deep emotional connection can feel like the most precious thing. But here's the truth. Love isn't about how fast you feel it. It's about how real it is. Learning to pace emotions doesn't mean shutting down feelings. It means protecting them. It means recognizing that true connections take time. It means allowing someone to earn emotional intimacy rather than giving it away freely. It's about balance, letting emotions flow, but not letting them drown logic. The right connection won't feel rushed. It won't need to be forced. And most importantly, it won't leave you questioning your worth. Because real love isn't just about feeling, it's about being valued, respected, and cherished. And that's worth waiting for. Number 5, apologizing. Too much. It's something we've all seen, right? A woman apologizing constantly, whether it's for something small or something that doesn't even require an apology in the first place. But why does it happen? And what does it really mean? Let's break it down. First off, apologizing can be a sign of empathy. Women are often raised to be caring, considerate, and sensitive to the feelings of others. It's a beautiful trait, but when it becomes excessive, it's not just a sign of politeness. It starts to reflect a deeper insecurity or lack of confidence. Think about it. Have you ever apologized for something you didn't do? or apologized when there was no reason to be sorry. That's when the apology starts to lose its true meaning. Instead of being a tool for mending situations, it becomes a reflex, a habit. It's like the word sorry becomes a filler used to avoid conflict or tension, often without realizing that there's no need for it. This behavior can have a few effects. For one, it can make others view the person as weak or unsure of themselves. Constantly apologizing sends the message that you're guilty of something, even when there's nothing to feel guilty about. And that's not a position anyone should be in. It also puts the person apologizing in a cycle where they feel like they always need to make up for things, even when they've done nothing wrong. Moreover, over-apologizing can diminish the value of an apology. Think about it. If someone apologizes for everything, the genuine apologies start to feel less sincere. When there's a real need to apologize, it can lose its power because it's been watered down by too many sorries. So why do women apologize so much? It's often linked to wanting to avoid conflict or make others feel comfortable. Women are often socialized to be accommodating and to smooth over uncomfortable situations. And while this is a valuable trait in many contexts, when taken to extremes, it can become a problem. Apologizing too much can reflect a lack of self-worth or a fear of upsetting others, which can lead to feelings of guilt or inadequacy. But here's the thing, you don't need to apologize for existing. You don't need to apologize for your opinions or your presence in a space. It's time to break that habit and start embracing confidence in your actions and choices. Instead of apologizing, try these alternatives. Instead of saying sorry for taking up space, say thank you for being there, for your contributions. Instead of apologizing for disagreeing, try I respectfully disagree or I see things differently. And if you do apologize, make sure it's for something you genuinely regret, not just as a reflex. By breaking the habit of over-apologizing, you free yourself to show up more confidently in your relationships, your career, and your life. You stop minimizing your worth and start owning your space. And the people around you will begin to respect you more for it. Confidence doesn't need to be loud or brash. Sometimes it's just about not saying sorry unless it's really necessary. Number 6. Ignoring their own needs. It's a common pattern many women fall into, putting others first and neglecting their own well-being. Whether it's family, friends, or even work, the idea of being selfless is often celebrated. However, this constant self-sacrifice comes at a cost. Over time, when a woman ignores her own needs, whether emotional, physical, or mental, she can begin to feel drained, overwhelmed, and disconnected from herself. But why does this happen so frequently? For many women, there's this underlying pressure to be everything to everyone. Society has ingrained the idea that women should be nurturers, caregivers, and problem solvers. The expectation can be suffocating, and often the only way to cope is by ignoring personal needs, thinking that if they focus on others, they'll be appreciated or loved in return. However, here's the reality. When a woman doesn't prioritize herself, she ends up losing a connection to her own desires, dreams, and happiness, and that's a dangerous cycle to fall into. Imagine a woman who spends hours caring for her family, working overtime, and helping others with their problems. She feels fulfilled helping everyone, but deep down, she hasn't had a single moment to check in with herself. What does she need right now? What does she want? The longer this goes on, the more exhausted and unbalanced she becomes. The truth is, ignoring personal needs isn't sustainable. It leads to burnout, emotional depletion, even resentment. You can't pour from an empty cup, and by constantly neglecting personal needs, the cup gets emptier and emptier until there's nothing left to give. So, what can be done? The key is balance. Taking time to recognize and acknowledge personal needs doesn't make a woman selfish. It makes her stronger, healthier, and more capable of giving to others in a meaningful way. Self-care doesn't always mean lavish spa days or long vacations, although those are great. It can mean carving out time for a walk, reading a book, talking to a therapist, setting boundaries, or simply resting when needed. When a woman ignores her needs, it doesn't just affect her, it impacts everyone around her. But when she takes the time to nurture herself, she becomes the best version of herself. She can be there for others, but only because she's first taken care of herself. So, ladies, next time you feel the pull to neglect your own needs, ask yourself, how can I care for myself right now? What does my mind, body, or soul require? Prioritizing your own needs is not a luxury. It's a necessity for your long-term well-being. Don't wait until it's too late. Listen to your inner voice and take action. Because when you take care of yourself, you can truly take care of others. Number 7. Taking criticism too personally. It's something we've all been there. Someone gives you a piece of feedback, and instead of taking it as constructive advice, you feel like it's a personal attack. You start questioning yourself, doubting your abilities, or even feeling like you're not good enough. This is especially true when the criticism comes from someone you care about, or someone whose opinion matters to you. Taking criticism too personally often stems from the fear of rejection or the desire to be perfect. It can lead to overthinking, unnecessary stress, and even self-doubt. When we take everything to heart, we forget that the feedback isn't a reflection of our entire worth as a person. It's simply someone's perspective on one aspect of what we did or said. But here's the catch. When you start internalizing criticism in a negative way, you stop learning from it. Instead of seeing the feedback as a tool for growth, you start seeing it as a confirmation of your insecurities. This can halt your progress, stifle your confidence, and make you less open to improvement. Now, let's shift the lens. Imagine if you could listen to criticism without it triggering that emotional reaction. What if you could take it with a grain of salt, evaluate it objectively, and use it to become better? It's possible. The first step is recognizing that not all feedback is a personal judgment. It's just someone else's view or suggestion for improvement. It's not about you as a person, it's about what you can do better. A great way to start handling criticism with more grace is to pause and reflect before reacting. Give yourself a moment to breathe and process the feedback. Ask yourself, is there truth in this? How can I use this to improve? When you give yourself time, you create space between the criticism and your emotional reaction, allowing for a more thoughtful response. It's also important to remember that everyone receives criticism at some point. Even the most successful people out there have faced criticism. They use it to their advantage, learning from it and growing stronger. It's not about avoiding criticism, but rather how you handle it when it comes your way. Instead of letting criticism make you shrink or feel defeated, use it to fuel your ambition. Treat it as a stepping stone to personal growth, a chance to reflect on what you can do differently next time. And most importantly, remember that you are constantly evolving, and one piece of feedback doesn't define your entire journey. So, the next time you receive criticism, pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself if there's room for improvement. Use that feedback to rise higher, not to retreat into self-doubt. The power is in your hands, and how you react determines your path forward. Number 8. Wanting to please everyone. One of the most common weaknesses every woman faces, though often unspoken, is the overwhelming desire to please everyone around her. Whether it's family, friends, or colleagues, many women struggle with the pressure to meet everyone's expectations and keep everyone happy. It's easy to fall into this trap, but here's why it's a problem and how it can take a toll on both your mental and emotional well-being. First, let's talk about why women feel this way. From a young age, many women are socialized to be caregivers, nurturers, and people-pleasers. Society often places expectations on women to be accommodating, to put others' needs before their own, and to maintain harmony in relationships. While these traits can be valuable in moderation, when taken to extremes, they can be draining and lead to a sense of inadequacy when it becomes impossible to please everyone. Constantly seeking approval from others can lead to a loss of personal boundaries. Women who always try to please others may find it difficult to say no, even when they know it will overwhelm them. They may stretch themselves thin by saying yes to every request, leaving little time or energy for their own needs. Over time, this pattern can lead to burnout, resentment, and a sense of identity loss, because the focus is always on others, never on oneself. It can also affect relationships. The desire to please can create unhealthy dynamics where the woman feels responsible for others' happiness, often at the expense of her own. It becomes a cycle. The more she tries to please, the more she feels like she has to keep up with this role. In romantic relationships, friendships, and even in the workplace, the fear of disappointing others can drive her to take on tasks or obligations she doesn't truly want, just to avoid conflict or disapproval. But here's the catch. No one can please everyone all the time. It's simply impossible. People have different wants, needs, and expectations, and trying to satisfy them all will only lead to frustration. When you make it your mission to keep everyone happy, you dilute your own sense of self, and you lose sight of what truly matters to you. In fact, trying to be everything for everyone often leads to the opposite of what was intended: disappointment, frustration, and feelings of inadequacy. Now, how can we combat this? The first step is recognizing that it's okay to put yourself first sometimes. It doesn't mean you're selfish, it means you're taking care of your own well-being. Setting healthy boundaries is essential. It's important to understand that it's perfectly fine to say no, and doing so doesn't make you a bad person. In fact, it makes you stronger, more authentic, and more likely to form meaningful connections with others based on mutual respect. Another way to counter the urge to please is by practicing self-awareness. Reflect on why you feel the need to constantly seek approval or try to make everyone happy. Are you afraid of being judged? Do you worry about conflict? Understanding the root cause can help you address it directly and take control of your actions. Finally, embrace the idea that you don't have to be everything to everyone. Focus on the people who truly matter to you, those who love and support you for who you are, not for how well you can please them. It's about building relationships where authenticity and mutual respect take precedence over fulfilling endless expectations. So, while the desire to please everyone is something many women struggle with, it's important to recognize its limits and learn how to navigate it in a healthy way. By setting boundaries, practicing self-care, and being more authentic, you can free yourself from the pressure to meet everyone's expectations and begin living a more balanced, fulfilling life. Number 9. Trusting too easily. Trust is one of the most powerful qualities a person can possess. It's the foundation of any meaningful relationship, be it with friends, family, or a partner. But what happens when that trust is given too freely, too quickly? For many women, trusting too easily can become a weakness, one that opens the door to heartbreak, disappointment, and betrayal. When you trust easily, you're extending a piece of yourself, believing that others will honor it the way you would. But not everyone sees trust the same way. While some people may value and respect it, others may take advantage of it. not realizing or caring that they've hurt you in the process. Women, in particular, can sometimes fall into this pattern because of the deep empathy and nurturing nature they often possess. They want to believe in the best of people, and that's a beautiful quality. But it can also be dangerous if you're not careful. It's important to recognize the signs that you're trusting too easily. For example, are you opening up about your vulnerabilities with people you've just met? Or are you giving people second, third, and even fourth chances when they've already shown you they're not trustworthy? These patterns often stem from the desire for connection and the fear of being alone or misunderstood. But in doing so, you're essentially lowering your own standards and letting people into your life who may not deserve the privilege. Trust is not something that should be given away freely. It should be earned over time through actions, consistency, and honesty. When you give someone your trust too easily, you risk facing hurt and disappointment that could have been avoided with a little more time and discernment. It's crucial to understand that not everyone is worthy of your trust, and that's perfectly okay. Learning to set boundaries and take your time when forming relationships is one of the most empowering things you can do for yourself. So, how do you break this cycle? First, start by recognizing your own value. You are worthy of respect and love, and the people you trust should be held to the highest standards. Take the time to really get to know someone before letting them into your world. Watch their actions, not just their words, because actions always speak louder than promises. And most importantly, trust yourself. Listen to your instincts. If something feels off, don't ignore it. Your gut is one of your most reliable guides when it comes to determining who truly deserves your trust. Trusting too easily isn't a weakness that defines you. It's just a pattern that can be changed with awareness, self-love, and patience. The more you learn to value your trust, the more others will value it too. You deserve relationships that are built on a solid foundation of respect, not blind faith. Trust is precious. Guard it wisely. Number 10. Struggling to let go. Letting go is often one of the hardest things for anyone, but for many women, it's an emotional struggle that can linger for years. Whether it's a past relationship, a toxic friendship, or a job that didn't work out, the difficulty in moving forward can weigh heavily on the heart and mind. It's like holding on to something that doesn't serve you anymore, but the fear of uncertainty keeps you holding on tight. This struggle isn't about a lack of strength. It's about the deep emotional connection that many women form with their experiences, their pasts, and their relationships. Women often feel the need to keep those memories alive, as if letting go would mean they're erasing a part of themselves. It's like being afraid that moving forward will mean losing a piece of who they are, when in fact letting go is the path to self-growth and freedom. But it's not just about emotional connections. It can also be about situations where letting go means admitting failure, facing the truth, or confronting the reality of a situation that didn't pan out. Women might feel that by holding on, they can somehow make things work or find closure on their own terms. But in reality, this only prolongs the pain and keeps them stuck in a cycle of regret, self-blame, and emotional distress. It's crucial to understand that letting go doesn't mean forgetting or being heartless. It means freeing yourself from the chains of the past, opening up space for healing, and creating room for new experiences. It means accepting that some things are out of your control, and that's okay. Letting go allows you to reclaim your emotional energy, which can then be used to focus on what's truly important: your well-being, your happiness, and your future. Letting go is a process, and it doesn't happen overnight. It requires self-compassion, the courage to face painful truths, and the strength to choose your peace over past attachments. It might take time, but every step towards release is a step closer to personal freedom. The first step is to acknowledge the pain and give yourself permission to feel it. You don't need to suppress your emotions or rush the process. Instead, allow yourself to experience the grief, the disappointment, or the fear that comes with letting go. Recognizing these emotions is key to healing. Next, practice mindfulness and self-awareness. The more you can stay present, the more you can detach from the past. Meditation, journaling, or simply taking quiet time to reflect can help you observe your emotions without becoming overwhelmed by them. Through this, you'll begin to see the bigger picture and realize that the past, while significant, doesn't define who you are or your future. Lastly, trust in the beauty of new beginnings. Understand that letting go opens up space for new opportunities, relationships, and experiences. You can't fully embrace the future if you're still clinging to the past. Letting go is a leap of faith that something better awaits you, something that aligns with the person you're becoming. Remember, struggling to let go isn't a weakness. It's a sign of your deep emotional nature and the strength it takes to face the complexities of life. It's about learning to navigate the balance between holding on to what's important and releasing what no longer serves you. Through this, you'll discover the true power of letting go, not as an act of defeat, but as an act of self-love and empowerment. Nobody is perfect, and that's okay. These weaknesses don't define a woman, they make her human, but recognizing them is the first step to self-improvement. Overcoming these struggles takes time, but every small step counts. Which of these did you relate to the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and let's start a conversation. If this video resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more eye-opening content. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.